us some growth strategies, for the organization. What has been happening from the day you started, and what are the growth pillars of the organization?
Thank you, Mr. Mtsikwi. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, our audiences. I also want to appreciate our pastors for giving us this opportunity. I think I'm so happy to be sitting here week in, week out, and letting you know the information that we have also gathered around while we are also doing our businesses. We want to thank you. Yes, it's very, very important. Like what he said, Mr. Mtsikwi, it's an informative program. The information that we try to share, especially from myself, is the experimental information. We have lived this, we have done it, and we have seen it working. So we are not talking from Google, we are not talking from, textbooks and all that stuff, but we are talking from information that we have used and we have seen it happening. So today we just want to talk about the growth strategy of a business, of course focusing on ATPO branding, but these can be done in every business that you're running or you want to run. So there are certain things that you have to look at when you want to grow your business. So I'm just going to touch on them, and then we go from there. So when you start every business, there are three things that I always talk about, which are very, very important before you even start your business when you sit down. So we want to talk about discipline, commitment, honesty. When you start your business, you sit down and think, okay, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go with the business? That's the first important thing that you should ask yourself. You do a self-introspection before you start a business. Do I want to open a business for eating money? Do I want to open a business for inheritance? Do I want to open a business because I just feel like? Do I want to open a business because it's in my heart? It's my passion. That's what I want to do with it. So that in itself can tell you, can you grow the business or can you not? It can help you. So these are the things that have helped us. So in the journey of ATPO, one thing that has helped us in the things that I'm mentioning about, number one, innovation. We talk about innovation as a business. Innovation, it's simply a new method, new idea, or a new product. We don't stop every day of our life. So one thing that has also helped, or we will help in the growth of a business, is when you make a decision, a deliberate decision to say, I am going to invest back into the business for a certain period of time. What am I saying? When we look at ATPO, we agreed and sat down with my wife and said, last year, for example, we said last year, all the money that ATPO is making is his. We don't have a cent there. So we invested back into the business. Every cent that we made sure if ATPO says, I want this, he has the money. If ATPO says, I want this, he has the money. So we gave ourselves a period and said, in 1 year, we are not touching a cent. It's money that belongs to ATPO. That's a growth strategy we used, and we have seen it working. We managed to buy a lot of machineries last year without even struggling, but because we had made a decision that the business is going to, to feed itself. We are not going to take away from the business. So there comes the issue of innovation. And then we moved to a point where the business now is going to a position where we say, this year, the business should take care of us. Why? It has every resource. So in terms of innovation, you're looking at what can I do which others don't have? What can I increase? What can I think of? What new idea do I have which can help me to move forward? So it's very, very important when you want to grow your business. I mentioned this when we did the other program, when you say, if you open a business because you want to eat money, don't. You should open a business which you have got passionate about and you don't even think of taking a cent from it. That business will feed you. because all you think is about the business. When we sleep, when we wake up with my wife, it's all about business. We're just thinking, what next can we do to increase the business? Because I also mentioned, I'm looking at a business that's going to run for generations, not for our generation only. So that has been a growth strategy that we have used in ATPO, and it has worked. Number two, want to talk about being dynamic. Right? Being dynamic. Just, it's a process or a system, characterized by constant change of activities. You don't do one thing every week. We invest a lot. We take things from China, India. I'm always on the net looking for new things that are coming through, or trying to get new things that are designed for us. We have products that you don't get anywhere, which we have.
Right.
And you know what it does? When you are growing a business, you have got a leverage or an advantage. If you want that product, I can sell it at $100 to you, and you won't say no, because nobody else has.
Right.
Why? Because I'm dynamic.
Right.
I'm constantly changing things. If you find this glass everywhere, I'll try to change it. Make it blue, make it heavy, whatever that I can do. That's a growth strategy that we have used, being dynamic. You don't sleep a day without finding out, what can I change? What can I do based on what I'm already doing? So that's also another point that we have seen in our growth strategy, which has worked.
Right.
Number three, I want to talk about being creative. Right?
Right.
This is being creative, it's defined as a tendency to generate or recognize ideas, alternatives, and possibilities. So if somebody comes to me and they say they want a suit, right? I just don't go to any shop and take a suit. I then look for an alternative.
Right.
To say, okay, you want a suit, but what else can I give you which is better than the suit?
Right.
You hear what I'm saying?
Right.
And then that has given us an advantage, because what then clients see is they see us as their partners, not as a service or product provider. We become a partner because we become a bit concerned about what they want, and then we come up with another solution which they are not thinking of. So that has seen the company grow in the last years, and just being creative. These things I'm talking about, they don't need money. Right. These things that I'm talking about, they don't need you to sit in any big forum. But these are decisions you make based on what you want to achieve as a company.
Right.
So these are very, very, minute but very strong points which you can use in any organization for it to grow forward. Number 4, don't be afraid.
Right.
When you're running a business. Don't be afraid. What do I mean? When we started investing in machinery, for those that have come to our factory, we don't have a machinery which is less than $10,000 US.
Right.
Right? Shipping through and buying a machine, paying a full amount, and you don't even know if these Chinese are true or they are fake, but you invest. You send the money to China without machine, but it will come. So we have done it. We are not afraid to try new. We are not afraid to buy what we want. We are not afraid to look at the new things that are happening in the world. So we have deliberately said this company, it's an entity which has got its own resources. Because the challenge we see with many people running a business, it's an organization, it's taken like pocket money. This is where you will lose it. Because you think it's just money, you just take, do what you want.
Right. It
will never work, and the company does not grow. And the moment you do that, I think this is something that we have been always taught, even from our pastors. It's an organization. Don't think it's just an organization. It's also an entity like just a normal human being, which at the end of the day, the organization will see, no, I'm going nowhere. Why do I have to keep on supplying these people with these resources? At the end of the day, you are losing money. You see your organization, you're no longer making money. You are no longer growing to the levels that you think. But it's because the way you are treating the organization, you are treating it like pocket money. So this is very, very critical and also important for you in running your business, that you need these things to grow, your business. These are the strategies we have used. These are the ideas and the things that we have used. There are quite a number, but I think for today we end on those 4 in terms of the growth strategies we have used: being innovative, being dynamic, being creative. We are not afraid.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. I mentioned it sometime. We bought, we have got a machine. It was a very expensive machine, but I had a deposit of $500.
Right.
But we had to go for it.
Right.
We are not afraid. But right now, the company has grown to unprecedented levels.
Right.
Why? Because we are using these things and they're working.
Great, thank you very much. You touched on the issue to do with financial discipline. And I know quite a lot of companies, especially at the starting stages, when there's people still call them my hustle, at that stage where people identify their business as my hustle and my startup. Those terms, I don't really like those terms, because I know they kind of, once you start defining your business as a hustle or a startup, the purpose, the vision is not quite big, it's just something you want to start there, and So I want you to tell me, and also the audience, the importance of financial discipline, especially at the beginning of starting the business. Money now is now coming in, in big numbers. And of course, there are a lot of things that you would want to also look at. I know you said that in the first, last year, you actually, you and your wife sat down and say, all the monies that are coming are for Brother Adpo, right? But when those temptations come, to reach out to Brother Adpo's pocket, what helps you to discipline yourself to say, no, we cannot reach into Brother Adpo's pockets? Yeah.
Yes, that's very true. So whenever a business is growing, I think you would appreciate, I've seen it, there's a time where the business gives you a lot of money.
Right.
Every business you start, there's a time when a business gives you a lot of money.
Right.
That's the very important time in running your business,
right,
where discipline is needed most.
Right.
Because it might not happen again. Mm-hmm. That level, it might not happen again.
Yeah.
But that's the time where you should grow the business.
Right.
For you to sustain it. It's very so now I mentioned when I started.
Right.
If you sit down and you want to start a company, the reason why you want to open a company is the reason why you call your company a hustle,
Or
a starter,
Right.
or a business.
Right.
That's where it is.
Right.
Because if I come and say I want to open an organization, the way you call your business that you want to start will determine how big you want it to be. Because if you call it a hustle, it will remain a hustle.
Right. Right.
So right now I've got a business, but I do hustles on the side. You get it?
I think that's quite interesting. Quite interesting. I can feel some goosebumps in me. What you call your business when you start it determines, how far it goes. That's we can stop the program. I think if you have nailed it. I think that's if you have that mentality to say, okay, fine. The context you put your business into already,
Yes.
gives you direction.
Yes, that's very true.
Yeah.
That's very, very true. So then if you do that, then it will give you the discipline,
Right.
the commitment, the honesty. Remember, it's also honesty to yourself. Not just to the business, to yourself. What do I want to do? The business has given me $1 million. Am I going to have these goosebumps of, looking at most expensive cars and stuff?
Right.
But if you have a target to say, I want to grow this business to a certain level, you would find you can even have a bicycle when you have got $1 million
Right.
with you. Why? Because there is something that you are saying, okay, I'm going to have all these things, but this is the period where I need to do what I want to do. Because I don't think there's anybody who starts a business and don't think in the long term or the short and then the long term. The short term, what do you want to do? Yes, many people will start businesses because atina mari kudzimba.
You're right.
So this is where maybe most of them we are failing, because we start because we want to cover a need.
Just a gap. Yeah.
Just a gap.
Yeah.
We don't have that, vision where we say, okay, why can't I have, right now I'm telling you, for those that have visited me, there's only one statement I'm mentioning these days. I want a warehouse for ADPO.
Right.
Warehouse for ADPO.
Right.
Because I think it has done all the other thing. Now we are looking at a warehouse. And that's where we are going. This is our vision. Big warehouse, branded on top. So if I have that vision, which means every $5 that I make, I'm not worried if to the extreme that I have not changed my shoes this year. You get it? Not that you wear torn shoes, no.
Right.
But you wear nice shoes, but you don't worry that to say, okay, I've got 5, I need 10. No.
Right.
Because you have a very big vision. And also, I think this is something that we have been taught as Christians. We need to leave a legacy that we would then also, if people learn, you know what, this person did this as a Christian, it will also help them to grow even usisipo. No, hey, munu aibatapa angakaoma. So these are the things that then should help you to in your heart to grow. But the moment you want to start a business because I'm always reiterating on this. Please don't start. Rethink again. Sit down and rethink. Now, it also comes to a point where you mentioned about us, you don't have money in the house, and then you have started a business, and you want to call it a hustle and stuff.
Yeah.
The discipline comes in. If you are a partner, I'm always encouraging you, sit down together. What do you want to achieve at the end of the day? If you sit down with your partner to say, we have started this business, but we don't have money, continue to do what you were doing. What do I mean? Vegetables. Let it remain your routine until a certain point of time.
Right.
Because the moment you start to take into the business, one thing that we are very weak about is as Africans or blacks, as Zimbabweans, we don't know how to calculate our profit. We eat everything. And then the next day, you want to do a service or you want to provide a product. You then ask your partner. Sometimes men, we act ignorant.
You're right.
We ask the wife, go and buy chicken, go and buy pork, go and buy what. And then an order comes. And then you say, give me that money, I want to buy the order. Right. There's no money in the house.
Right.
Marianda with chicken. Why we think we are making more when we are not making. You see what? The wife comes, kids don't have bread, they don't have. Go and buy. Because the money, you are treating your business as pocket money.
All right.
But if you sit down and agree with your partner, we are making this our business. It's not for us to take and feed. But it doesn't mean Stefan and Zara. But the discipline comes where you minimize on everything. And then you move forward.
Momera kushamsira ka kuti wanzi amuna chingwa oti enoteka go and buy, and yet you are dipping right into the pockets of the business. Money that you're not supposed to even touch at all, right? So I encourage, couples, individuals, momereka kushamsireka kunzi yuwanzi amuna chingwa manya notenga, and then the money is now needed for very important, issues, and it is not there. It is not right. So for those that have just joined us online, we are, now we are about to close our session for today. But Mr. Maramba touched on quite important, points for growth strategy. What has helped him to grow, ADPO as a business. He spoke about the need for financial discipline. He spoke about innovation. He spoke about the importance of investing back into the business and also being dynamic and being creative. I wish I could touch on the last point, probably briefly, Mr. Maramba, the issue of fear. I know it's in everyone else. The desire to start a business, it's almost in everyone. But there are those things that people are scared to take risks. You've spoken about, you need to take risks. What helped you, together with your wife, in implementing these growth strategies? These are quite important and strong growth strategies. And I know they come with a lot of risks. When you want to innovate, there's risk involved. When you want to invest back into the business, there's risk involved. Financial discipline, being dynamic, creative, everything. There are a lot of risks involved, and there's a lot of fear that probably tries to come along the way. How did you deal with that?
All right. Yes, it's very true. You can be afraid. So one thing that we have done deliberately with my wife is we set aside. We used to do it a lot. These days but we still do it. Mm-hmm. So what we used to do is we used to set aside the first week of every month. Mm-hmm. The first 7 days of every month was our prayer week for ATPO and fasting.
All right.
We do that. We would even go Kudombo caves.
Right.
Morning up to 12. Praying for the company, for enlightenment, for direction, because we believed our CEO is God.
Right.
So we would go and speak to the CEO to direct us.
Right.
Now, once you do that, the element of fear was then taken out of us because we had a plan. We want to see to reach a certain level with our business. So as Christians, it's very important. Don't ever think you can do magic in a business without praying.
Right.
You never do magic. Pastor vanoti wakashinga vanoti there's a word unezvivindi.
Right.
Unezvivindi kurun a business without seeking direction, clarity and even trust. It comes from there. There are people that we used to give a lot of money, just to give a lot of money, but in our hearts it would speak and say, deal with this person, deal with this one, deal with this one. So fear, it's there. So in everything that you do in life, whether business, whether whatever, there are consequences. It doesn't mean as ATPO we haven't made losses. We've made huge losses. But I'll tell you one thing. I have reached a level where now my wife is the one maybe anombo touched Lucy so I eat. But I've reached a level because I've got a plan and direction. Even if a client comes back and says we don't want everything, it's wrong. I'll say it's fine, I'll redo it. I've reached that level. They know, even if you ask them. Doesn't matter, it's for 3,000, it's for 5,000. Because my conviction, it's on my customer loyalty.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
Once I do that, that client is going to come back. I think Pastor Akambo will start off this sometime.
Yeah.
That client is going to come back and give me more orders to cover up for that loss.
Yeah.
So I've reached that level, but it's not a level where you just reach when you are seated. Because all you think about is, if I make money, I want this. No. You need to be prayerful to remove the element of fear. Because money, money is the biggest hurdle in any business. Because you can lose it. Where we used to work there in Masasa, I know the guy went to China, bought a machinery, paid $80,000 to a bogus company that did not exist. He lost it. Just like that. But Isuzu, we have sent money to China, I don't know how much, more than 100,000. We have never lost anything. Right. Why? Because we trust in God and we put Him first. Before we do anything, we pray. We have certain machines that we didn't buy, but we wanted them. But then we were directed to other companies. And also, when you're running a company, don't just be innovative in terms of thinking of a product and service. Move around. Kwirande gojenda kuma expo. Dubai, China. And right now there's the one in China, in South Africa. There are a lot of expos. Expose yourself. This will also show you, am I running a business or a hustle? Because if you fly, to Dubai. That's a lot of money that you're using. You want to see how others are doing it. You want to feel and this is where you get, this is how we have got most of our machineries. And this is how God has directed us. We have gone to a lot of these expos around the world and we have seen machines that work what we want. So fear, you can only erase it by prayer. And also, if you have a proper plan, you will not, that fear will go and you begin to trust, and then you move forward.
Interesting. This is quite interesting. We could go on and on and on, right? And we could spend the whole day talking about this. But I think this has been quite insightful. And one thing I like about these sessions, especially this one, our pastor has started a series, on predicting your future financial, success. This is knowledge that if you tap into it as an individual, it can actually predict where you're going. If you take notes on what we've been taught here, even from other previous sessions, you can actually see, you can actually have a clear picture of where you're going. So it's so interesting that what we discuss here also fits in and matches with the word that the pastor, teaches us. That's quite interesting, and we want to thank the Lord, for that. We have come to the end of this program, but just before we do that, we want to ask questions. We'll pick probably 2 or 3 questions, that you have for Mr. Maramba, the representative, from ATPO Branding Solutions today. I will take questions. Pastor D, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Maramba and Mr. Some very exciting, insightful nuggets have been shared. So I just want to maybe get a bit more clarity for my sake and others who might have missed it. I think the major take-home message was that if you are running a business, you don't really want to be going in and withdrawing from Brother Atco or whatever the name of your business is. So there's no food at home. Both of you have left your employment. So my question will be 2 parts. Are we saying that what do we do? Do we borrow from the company and say we'll pay you back? Or what? Because we need the money, in order for us to move forward. And then the second one, linked to it, is we are running it as a business. There's the issue of salaries. Because if it's a proper organization, it should have workers who are being paid some form of salaries. How did you handle it, or how do you handle it? I mean, because as you said, you started small, you said you decided to invest more into the business. Were you paying each other like $20 or $10 or what? How did you handle that, and how would you suggest that people do it?
Yeah, just a follow-up, I think, yes. When do you then spend the money? That's what you want to do.
Okay, all right. That's quite interesting because that's so coming to. I'll talk about ATPO, how we have done it when we started. So when we started, it was me when I started it, and then after a few months, then my wife came through. So what we would do is we'll sit down and see what is the critical need we need in a house. Because at that time, we couldn't give each other my salaries. We couldn't, because we wanted the business to grow, because as you know, our business, you need to have a huge capital base. So we had a certain budget that we had said after this period, we need to raise a certain amount of money, which would then be our capital base. But we'll raise it from what we are getting. So what we would then do, we agreed with my wife, we are going to live a standard life, normal standard life, where we have got a perfect breakfast and, and stuff. So what we would then do every month, we'll sit down. What do we need in the house? And then we would have a list. Is it necessary to buy 10 Harpics? No. Why can't we use 5?